Hi, welcome to the actual lectures for Module 3. Just a couple of things. I have everything on dual screen because I wanted to show you some of the changes that are going on. So, number one, thank you so much for the feedback in the Module 1. I used that to redesign and kind of restructure some things in Module 3. So, Module 3 is really all about giving you advice as a teacher, in particular for curriculum design. The resource that we have is, I think, really useful for educators who are trying to figure out how to better serve their gifted education programs within their school environment. So it works to your advantage, where it gives you some critical tips and strategies that you can use. In addition to that, I've also included a second PowerPoint show that enables you to be able to watch and see some things that people are doing and get some tips from there. So, number one, the introduction you've already seen by now. The PowerPoints are integrated into the lectures because I didn't want you to have too many files that you had to explore. So just so you know. Second, the individual practice to demonstrate understanding is just like the previous week's module 2, where you had to do the project check-in, and that's just to give you feedback and also give you an opportunity to quickly kind of start getting your rough drafts in order for your project. So you have that, and then I have taken away the reflection. Thank you for the person who told me that. Sorry, I'm forgetting your name. However, I think that was a good point because the reflection is two-part. It asks you about your experiences thus far, so I could actually do the reflection in the next module or every 2 modules. So I took that away because you are doing an individual practice that does require some work. And I also took away the collaborative part 2 because this week is the week before your midterm project is due. So focusing on the midterm project is more important, as this sets the foundation for the actual lesson that you will create from the outline of your curriculum plan. So the work that you do with your collaborative group during the second week should benefit you for this week, and then you won't have to worry about a collaborative group work activity until further down the line, which will come up in module 4 again. So module 3, no collaborative group work, and also you have the reading quiz that I took away from week 2 is now on week 3, which is not a bad thing because the reading was pretty intense and it has a lot in there. So based on suggestions that I got from students and preferences, I've included multiple choice matching and also a few short answers. So what happens is I usually create a lot of questions, and then there are a few that you draw from, but everyone doesn't get the same questions. So okie dokie. Let's get started. I'm going to move this to second screen here, and let's go into part 2. So this particular lecture was designed through PlayPost. I like PlayPost because it allows me to pause and have you reflect and do all these other things. So if you haven't already, which I saw a number of you do, and let me just find PlayPost here to make sure you know what I'm talking about. Let's see, PlayPost. Sorry, I thought I had it up. Go back here. Just looking up some more resources for you. You'll see what I mean when we get to there. Okay, so PlayPost. PlayPost is actually the first original video that you got to see. I did create a class, so I'm going to add a link for you to engage within the class because I do actually want you to complete the assignment, which is going to be the reflection of this PowerPoint. Where you stop and you pause, but you actually have to subscribe to it. So far, 8 of you have already signed up for it, so that's great. The rest of you will need to register, and it's simple. I'll just send you a link. The link will be at the start of this video or at the start of the the page that this video comes up in, and then you will actually go in and you'll see it assigned to you. So it all works well. Let me know if you have any problems with that. But this is put in a play post so you can stop and you can pause and you can interact with the actual lecture. So you'll see pauses, you'll see interactive activities that are expected for you to complete as you're going through this content. So the way these lectures are split up, the first one breaks down what teachers should do and suggestions. So we'll start going through that. And then the second one actually gives you an examples and also looks more into curriculum development and what other schools are doing and things that are working or not working for them. Okie dokie. So first thing, something to consider. Gifted and talented pupils can be found in every school, in every culture, and in every socioeconomic group. I know that I've already said that before, and all of the sources kind of talk about that, but it's really important that you understand there is no way, or there is no type, or there is no one way, no one type, or one particular way for a student to be gifted. Students who are gifted come in all shapes and sizes, and knowing that enables you to open your mind to exploring a variety of giftedness in students or looking for their uniqueness. Kind of going back into the point that we discussed earlier in Module 1. So next, direct intervention is particularly critical for these pupils because giftedness may only emerge when appropriate opportunities are provided. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but it could be something that's easily forgotten. That they need to be in the correct circumstances, also be provided the opportunity, and also be able to develop those skills in order for the giftedness to appear. So because this is primary education, this is critical because if you design your curriculum in a way in which encourages and empowers students, you can actually develop or discover someone's gifted abilities. So these two parts that I'm going over again, not to reiterate the same things, are crucial, especially at the primary level, because you are the gatekeepers. You're the people who see the genius of students. You are the ones who teach them how to learn. I mean, it's awesome. When I say you, I mean those of you who teach primary education or primary education teachers. This is a critical stage where really life comes to being when it comes to learning. So I think that whatever happens at this stage is critical to giftedness and gifted ability really developing. As we go on, your job is to be a talent spotter. And what that means is you are to create the right opportunities with support and encouragement to help the child develop a desire to learn and to achieve as much as possible. You are the talent spotter. You will recognize indicators of outstanding ability as and when they begin to emerge in students. And I'm going to hopefully find one of the documents that people actually use here to diagnose giftedness and gifted abilities. So you can kind of see that in action. Hold on a second. Let me just bring it up really quickly. Okay, so next, or I'm waiting for that. So the primary framework. So the next couple of slides come from research and recommendations of the Williams Review of Mathematics Teaching in Primary Schools in Early Years Settings. So if you're wondering, and this is all coming from our reading of this week. Teachers should ensure that every child achieves as highly as they can, creating a culture of high expectations and aspirations where it is cool to be clever. Cool to be clever. Imagine that. I think a lot of times students fall out of love with learning because of the fact that there are so many things out there that, you know, they really need to. Sorry about that. I'm trying to find a file while I'm talking to you. There's so many pressures that are placed on them in regards to testing and achievement and things that, you know, kind of take away from the whole idea of learning. So it would be kind of awesome if students learned quite simply just to learn how to love learning and kind of embrace that, as opposed to feeling pressure to achieve for tests. Recognize and build on what learners already know. So sometimes teachers have a really terrible habit of looking at the deficiencies that students have instead of looking at the skills that they come in with. So kind of focusing on what they can do and then building those into the learning experience is critical. And it also helps to enable them to love learning. Also, as an educator, you should make learning vivid and real, developing understanding through inquiry, creativity, e-learning, and problem solving within and beyond the classroom. So even though this is a high school setting here, the students are engaged. There isn't a head down. The students are participating in something that looks like a scientific experiment that they are really involved in. So it's your job to kind of look outside the box, and some of you already said in your responses to week one's quizzes that you have to think extraordinary. Not that we already don't have so many pressures, but it is your job and responsibility to grow and stretch the student, and doing that means having them explore learning in a way that they may not have explored before. So thinking outside of the box. And then lastly, they recommend that you enrich the learning experience, making links across the curriculum, develop children's confidence, self-discipline, and understanding of the learning process. So I think that's critical, especially we'll get into that with the curriculum part of the lecture. But remember that students are not they're not educators, so they may not be aware of the approach, nor the reason, nor the process for them acquiring new knowledge. And it is your job to facilitate that process and get them into the groove of learning how to learn, especially at the earlier age. So you make children partners in their learning experience, using assessments for learning to help them assess their work. So remember, I mentioned to you that I found and I had to do a little bit of research, but I found a actual file that shows how gifted students are assessed. So here's a great way that you can kind of make students partners in their learning. For example, so here is this, and this is from Clark County, how they use for a progress report. Involve them in this process. So here are the categories: skill, description, emergent, approaches, meets, exceeds. Have them be a part of this conversation. Have the parent be a part of this conversation as well. So as you develop your content, you develop the activities for them to do, that they start to ask themselves these questions. Let me see if it goes down any further. No. So if you want this, I can add it to your collection of resources. It was just a thing that I found out I thought super cool to look at, because it shows the way in which we assess gifted learners in Nevada. But if you're not interested in it, that's totally fine. Just let me know that via email that you want the sample. But it pretty much goes through the process of them gaining their new skills. And I think this would be a super cool way to make them partners and make their parents partners as well in their process. So all in all, as educators, you are the foundational steps of what it means to learn. And if there's anything that you didn't gather from this video or this lecture video, it should be that you start the way. So if you do have gifted students, add them in the process and make sure that you're enriching their curriculum so that they can expand beyond their gifted abilities and also develop in areas that they have challenges in. Okay, that's it for now. Stay tuned for the next lecture.